Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to quickly revise frequency polygons, how we read off the frequency tables, and how we draw the frequency polygon. Okay, we start with something like this. We get a frequency table where we've got class intervals, so we've got 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29. We've got midpoints and frequency. Now in this case we were lucky, they gave us the midpoint, so we don't have to calculate that, but just for future reference to know how to calculate it, let's say we want to calculate this midpoint here if we weren't given it, so we cross it out. So how we do that is, to calculate the midpoint you always go this value, so it's 29, okay, and that value plus 20 divided by 2 is equal to your midpoint, so this is your midpoint, and in this case it's going to be 49 over 2, which is equal to 24.5. Okay, so that's how you calculate your midpoint if you're not given it. Just so you know, usually they do go in a pattern, so make sure that you are seeing that. For example, here we've got 4.5, then it's 14.5, then it's 24.5. Okay, so there is some sort of pattern, so check that you are getting something like that. Okay, so the next step, once we've got all the data filled in on our frequency table, is to create a frequency polygon. Okay, so the most important thing to remember when drawing a frequency polygon is just to remember, you usually put the midpoint as your x-axis, and on your y-axis you have the frequency. Okay, so as with all graphs, we start by plotting a few points before we can fill in the rest of the line or graph or whatever we're doing. Okay, so if we're going to start here, we have got at the midpoint of 4.5, we have a frequency of 4. So what we do is we line it up. So here's the midpoint 4.5, there's 4, and we dot it over, and we get our point here. Okay, so obviously you don't need to draw all these lines, that's just to help you when you're figuring things out. So we can draw our dot there. Oh, let's make that a bit bigger. Okay, so we draw our dot there. The next point we're going to have is at 14.5 and 9, so we line that up again. 14.5 is there, 9 is around there, so we have our point here. Okay, let's just take these dots away. Okay, so we have our point 9, 14.5, and then we have our next point at 24.5 and 2. So in line with 24.5 and 2, so it's like that. And the final step then is just to simply connect the dots as you would in a normal frequency polygon, and it's going to look something like this. Okay, so we connect the dots, it's quite simple, we just connect all the dots, and that's our frequency polygon.